Hey everyone, welcome to a new park showcase video. In this video I'll be showing you a park that I made some time ago called Deurklink's Forest Frontiers. Now this map was made on the original Forest Frontiers map in OpenRCT2 and I used all the available land that was available in the original scenario. I did build a bit outside of the boundaries of the original scenario at some point, just because I want to add some extra trees, just place some extra scenery, and at the end I also placed a ride outside of the areas, just because I thought it would look cool. So of course there's a parking lot, etc. Anyway, I just thought to myself, what would a real park in the middle of a forest look like? So I also tried to make rides that a smaller park would be able to have, that are not too expensive. So yeah, this is what I came up with in the end. I will now just start here at the park entrance, and then I will show you everything that I built in the park. So right here you have the park entrance. Now I did want to include the squirrels around the entrance path, just like the original scenario had, just to make it look a bit more recognizable. So yeah, the original scenario had a tarmac path here to the entrance, which would be somewhere around here, and then the squirrels would be inside the park. I thought it would be cool to add the squirrels outside of the park. The actual park entrance is actually here. I can show you with a tile inspector, so you can see it here. But I just made it invisible. But the reason I do this is just so that you're more flexible with the path you can have here. Normally you have to make a really simple path from the edge of the park to your entrance. So if you place the entrance right at the edge of the park, you can just do whatever you want after it. And then you can make a more complicated entrance that people will see, like I did here. So yeah, this entrance, just a few buildings here with glass where normally the cashiers would sit, and it says welcome in a few languages. So yeah, really simple entrance, but I'm happy with how it looks. It looks more like what a real park entrance would look like, rather than this stuff over here. Let me make it invisible again. So here you can see a parking lot. These cars are all cars from a car ride. I can actually show you. So let's do a steel wild mouse. Sorry, there's actually a track here with block brakes. Let me make the paths invisible. So there's actually a track here with block brakes. So each of these cars is just stopped on a block brake. So it just looks like they're all parked on in a parking spot. And I just made the track invisible. And then it looks like that. Normally the cars are parked a little bit more to the front. So I actually did some hacking with Microsoft Visual Studio in the OpenRCT2 source code, just to make them spawn a little. Well, just to make them ride a little bit more to the back, so they wouldn't be parked into the bushes in front of them. So yeah, I may make a tutorial on how to do that at some point, but not for now. It's quite complicated to do, and yeah, it's just details, but I like focusing on details. I also made a little bit of a employee parking area here, right next to this building. So yeah, guests won't be able to reach this area, but sometimes I just like to make some employee areas, just because you also have them in real parks. Well, I made some buildings right next to the entrance, so it says lockers, so I guess people would be able to rent a locker here. Here's a little building for the parking. Here's a park info building. You can see I put some information kiosks right in here, actually connected to the paths. So guests coming here, they will actually buy umbrellas and park maps from these information kiosks. And here's some toilets inside the building. Here in the middle of the park, right after the entrance, excuse me, there's some. Oh, there's a little building here, a bit of a play area. So right next to it, there's a merry-go-round. Inside the building, we find the twist, and there's also a spiral slide. The spiral slide actually peeks out of the building. I think that looks quite cool. There's also a burger stall here and drink stall. It's called Jimbo's Burger. Made a little bit of seating area right next to it. I made a tutorial now to make these seating areas, if you're wondering how I did this. Well, there's some more toilets in the building. Here I made an observation tower and I gave it some fancy colors. It's called Totem, because those also have fancy colors. Put some totem poles next to it. I was quite happy with how it turned out. And here I made some t-shirt stalls, but I actually made them, put them right next to each other, just to make it look like there's games here that people can play, where they can win stuffed toys or t-shirts. So that's a neat trick I like to use in my parks. Here you can see a junior coaster called Dragonfly. It's nothing special really. The layout, it's just a small coaster. Well, most small parks also have a little junior coaster or family coaster. The coaster does 2 circuits. That's a little station building. I made the queue path invisible, so it looks like guests are walking in the dirt here. I think it works well for a forest park. By the way, around the edge of the park, I put all these extra trees just to make the forest look more dense. I only did it around the edge of the park. Most of the trees here are just trees that were also here in the original scenario. But yeah, I wanted it to look a little bit more like an actual forest. Also along the edge of the park you will see, well, next to the path I like to put conifer hedges, like this. Then if you disable clearance checks, then you can actually bury them right next to your paths, like that. And it just makes it look like there's grass right next to your fence. And I think it works really well if you have a forest right next to it. You can see it here. It just makes the forest edge look a little bit more dense. I think it works quite well. Also just put many bushes here under the trees. So yeah, I'm kind of quite happy with how that looks. Here we have a looping coaster. It's called Looping Star. I modeled it a bit after the original Looping Star rides that you can find. The layout is not exactly the same here. It passes over the chain lift, but I took a bit of a liberty in the layout, and I'm actually quite happy with how it turned out. So yeah, it goes down here, goes through the loop, then it travels back and forth a few times through some half helixes. Then here at the end it reaches the brakes, and after the brakes there's a bit of a transfer track. So yeah, this part of the track would be able to slide here, and then it would be able to park a train right on this piece of track here. Simple station building, some more trees in between. Yeah, the ride, nothing special. I did put some extra supports under this here, put a little bit of a fence around it. And it try to make it look like a transportable ride. So what you often see in smaller parks is that they actually buy a transportable ride and just put it down permanently. So yeah, that's sort of what this was supposed to look like. So that's why you see all these diagonal beams here on the floor. Also put some extra supports here under the chain lift. Okay, here we see a top spin on the edge of the park. So around the edge of the park I put all these fences. I used to cheat to own all land, just so that way I could also put my own fences at the edge of the park, just to make it look a little bit more realistic. And also because I think these look nicer than the park fences that the game normally uses. Okay, here in the middle we have this splash boat ride. So here's I have a bit of a cold, so excuse me if you hear some strange noises. So here's a round station. Actually, here's just a piece of exit station. Here's the entrance station. Guests have to pass this little bridge to get to the ride. Then it travels up here. I actually made an invisible chain lift here, just so it doesn't travel at 1 km per hour, but rather at 3 km per hour. I made a really tight turnaround here. Normally these boats can only do very large turns. I made a small turn here. And actually, well, yeah, the small turn became invisible, so I actually put some Virginia reel track here just to make a tight turnaround. And then it travels down this double drop, a bit of straight track here before it returns to the station. I'm not sure if this ride can actually do photo sections, but or maybe it does, but Anyway, I just put a little bit of cube path here with these cube path TVs on it, and that now serves as the photo section. I think it works well. I kind of like the way this looks. Of course, you do have this little fence piece here that you see, but I just chose to ignore it. And here's a little bit of a splash section. You often see this in real parks next to a water ride that does a splash. So yeah, there's guests sometimes stand here to watch the ride, and if this was real here, they would get splashed with water if the boat passed by. You can actually see them watch the ride here now. Okay, here at the edge of the park, here's a haunted mansion. Here's a launched freefall ride. Something I like to do for these rides is put an operator shack next to it. I like to use t-shirt stalls for that, so I just put a closed t-shirt stall right next to it. Here's a little bit of toilet building, and here's a little building that I placed down called Tasty Pizza, and inside there's a pizza stall and a drink stall, and I made a seating area around the stalls and around the edge of the building, so you can actually see guests enjoy their pizza and drinks right here. Here we have a coaster called Lumberjack. I'm really happy with how this layout looks. I think the layout worked really well. So yeah, from the station it goes down a bit through this turnaround, travels up the chain lift, then goes down and over this hill, and then it passes under the track here, then through this curved drop and passes under the track again. So yeah, it basically looks like a big nut. But yeah, this ride just looks really good from many angles, and I like showing it in my screenshots or in other videos. So you may have already seen this come by a few times. So yeah, this is one of the favorite rides, favorite wooden roller coasters I've ever made. Here's a little building with a transfer track. They would be able to store extra coaster trains in here. Made a garage door here that's partly opened and one that's closed. Here in the queue, the ride's called Lumberjack, so I put lots of lumber here. A bit of a hut here. I also put some trains here, display cars. I like doing that sometimes in the queue. You often also see that in real parks. Sometimes it's just one seat that you can try out. Sometimes they display a car, or sometimes they display a car that used to be used on a ride. But yeah, this is really one of my favorite woodies I've ever built. Oh, here's a little stall hidden in a wagon. So yeah, I just placed a stall here, and with the tile inspector I made it invisible, so you can see there's a hot dog stall. We can make it invisible, and I just placed a wagon here, so now it looks like people are actually buying food from this wagon. The shop is called the Hot Dog Truck. So yeah, I think this is pretty cool. Another thing I like to do in my parks. Here's a little enterprise right next to this coaster. I tried to make it in the same colors. I think it worked quite well. This coaster here, it's called Cannonball. It was inspired by Canonen launched coaster at Liseberg. So it gets launched from the station, goes up this small top hat, then travels through the loop, then it goes, turns around again here, and then here there's an inline twist or hardline twist. Actually used the multi-dimension coaster track for this. Some people use the B&M coaster track, but I think this multi-dimension coaster track mixes better with the Giga coaster track. So yeah, this I'm really happy with how this looks. Here at the end there's a bit of a transfer track and a storage building. And for the queue area here I used pieces of flying saucer track and build a bit of a station here. Actually I made a sort of a bit of a launch tunnel. So yeah, here there's just a building where it probably would be dark. And then here at the end I put some hardline twister coaster around the track. Now there used to be a bigger lake here, but actually made it a bit smaller. Did make a building here where people can buy food called Lakeside Lunch. But yeah, to make up for me making this lake smaller, I actually added a bit of a lake here at the edge of the park. Here we have a roto drop called the Plunge. And again, here I made a t-shirt stall. It's the ride operator booth. Also I copied some elements of the base of the ride, just to make the base area look a little bit more, look a little bit bigger. So the entrance and exit of the ride are actually also in here, but I made them invisible. And right here, well, this area of the park is normally not accessible to build on, but I just felt the park needed something extra here. So I just used this area to make a little go-kart ride. So yeah, you may have already seen this ride in one of my tutorial videos. I think this was one of the first wide go-kart tracks that I built. I think, looking back at it now, I think this building is a little bit too big for the ride, but I'm actually happy with how the ride looks. So yeah, just a simple track layout here for the go-kart track. Alright, that was my Forest Frontiers park. If you want to download it for yourself, if you're a member on my Discord, well, there I have a Park Showcase channel, and in the Park Showcase channel you can also see this park. You can download it, and then you can go see the park for yourself. Alright, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this park. I sure enjoyed making it. And I hope to see you again in the next video. See you later.